Hello. So, um, Welcome to my video. This is going to be me just going over a practice it called stutter. It involves array list collections, and it's basically just going to be an example of how to calculate certain values within an array list. So, the question asks us to write a method called stutter that takes in an array list of strings, okay, and an integer k as parameters. Okay, so an array list and an integer are the two things passed in, and then we replace every string with the k amount of values of that string, or copies of that string. Okay, cool. And then so like for example, it shows the how are you, and then it showcases that it wants it to be repeated 4 times. So then the array list then gets to be modified to repeat how, r, you, and pay attention to how it's still in order. The hows and the r's are still in the same order that they were in the original array list. Okay, so just to clear this out. Second. Okay, cool. So we have our method header, and so it's here. If k is 0 or negative, the list should be empty after the call. So you can go ahead and just write the safeguard for that. So you can make sure to write a if statement that checks if the number passed in is a 0 or a negative. So if k is less than 0, we want to go ahead and you could loop through the array and just remove the indices until it's empty, but there's the method called clear, so we can just go ahead and do list dot clear, and that'll just clear the content of the array list for us. Okay? So if k is less than or equal to 0, it'll clear the array list. Else, in case k is like 1 and above, we want to do some other stuff, which involves us repeating the contents of the array. So, like I said, the contents are still in order, and they're being repeated the k amount of times. So we obviously know that we will need a for loop. Okay? So we come here. On here, we'll need a for loop in order to go through the array list. So like when you know you need iterations, you already know you need either a while loop, a for loop, or a do while loop. So if I equals 0, as long as I is less than this size, and then you want to increment. Okay. So then we know that we want to go to this value and we want to repeat it a certain amount of times. So we can utilize a nested for loop so that like for every index of this, we want to copy it 4 times and then move on to the next thing. So a nested for loop would be helpful. If j, and as long as j is less than the k that they passed in, because we want to repeat that value here k amount of times. Okay. And then just increment. Okay. So looking at our method right now, I can already tell that we're going to run into an issue with ArrayList. Their sizes do modify, so we need to be aware of that. Um, so as we're adding contents to this array list, the size is going to modify, and but our for loop isn't going to modify with the size of the array. We're still going to be only as the list size grows, the amount of iterations that our for loop is going to do is going to grow as well. So it's going to copy the words more than we want it to. So we want to have a safeguard for that. So what we can do is we can hold on to the value of the original list size here. That way that we make sure we iterate and we repeat this many words this many times. Okay, so we don't have like over repeats. So int size. So instead of list dot size, you can go ahead and just do size, and that way it'll iterate the repeating of k this many times, only 3 times, and it'll go to each value. Okay. So in order to add contents to your array list, you can use the method add. So we're gonna do list of add, and you want to add the contents that are at the array list here, right? So we want to add what's at I. So um, instead of just doing add um, this at I or something like that, what we can do is we can hold on to the value that is at this index. So we can have a string called first, and then we can have the string collect what is at the first index. Okay. So the reason I'm getting what's at the first index is so that I can utilize that here and I can add it to the end. So there's different ways that you can add things, especially in sequential order. But here I want to sort of do like a shifting effect where um, I get the value that is here, right? I take it in, I hold on to it inside of a variable, and then what I want to do is I want to remove that value. So whatever value is at the front, I'm going to go ahead and remove that value. So I'm going to take it, hold on to what it is, and I want to remove it. And then what I want to do as I enter this for loop is I'm going to add it to the end. So I'm going to do that for each of these. It's going to iterate for the size of the original array. So I'm going to do it for each of these. It's going to take this value and remove it. And then now R is going to become index 0. And then once I iterate back to our outer for loop, it's going to go to R, and it's going to take in R, it's going to remove R, thus shifting the array list to the left, and then it's going to add 4 iterations of R, as we're doing in here, to the end of it. So it's still going to be in order, and it's just going to have the repeats. That way that we're not printing this out, and then after this, we're printing out all the iterations, and then we're also holding on to the size so that we don't iterate more than we need to. Yeah, so here we hold on to the size. And then we enter our for loop that gets the values at the indexes of the array list. We take in the value that is here at how, and then once it's shifted, it's going to be R, and then U, and then we remove that, and we just take how and we push it to the end here, and then we just add 4 of them, and then we just do that for each of them until they're back in sequential order, but they're repeated. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. I believe that's most of what we're doing. Let's see. I'm usually wrong about these things, but hopefully it runs. Of course. Reached file. I forgot to close. For loop or an else statement. So that should work. Cool. So we've passed all tests. There are a myriad of ways to get this done, but I like this way because I think it's sort of a cool trick that you can use. But yeah, there are definitely multiple ways that you can do this. Probably more efficient ways, but and this works, and I like it. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.